The voice was silent for a moment, then the soft glow intensified. You will be tested in ways you cannot yet imagine. You must prove your innocence. Only by overcoming this trial will you be accepted in this village. Otherwise, you shall surely die. The light in the grove began to fade, and the storm cleared. Nkunim stood up, his mind racing with thoughts of the trial ahead. He knew that this was just the beginning of another challenge. As he walked back to the village, he wondered what kind of test awaited him and how he would face it. All that Nkunim ever wanted was to go in the ways of his ancestors and worship the gods of his ancestors. He never wanted to offend them in any way. Therefore, he decided to carry out the tasks. With the villagers waiting anxiously, Nkunim returned, determined to prove his worth. The celebration had turned into a gathering of uncertainty, and Nkunim could feel the weight of the trial looming over him. His life was at stake. Nkunim returned to the village, his heart racing with anticipation and worry. The storm had cleared, but the feeling of unease lingered. The villagers watched him with a mixture of hope and fear. They knew something important was about to happen. Nkunim went to his family's house, where his mother, Abba, waited anxiously. "Nkunim, what did the gods say?" she asked, her voice trembling. Nkunim took a deep breath. "The gods have given me a trial to prove my respect and bravery. I must face this trial to show that my success is truly for the good of our village." His mother nodded, her eyes filled with tears of pride and concern. "We believe in you, Nkunim. We know you have the strength to overcome anything." That night, Nkunim hardly slept. He kept thinking about the trial he would face. What could it be? He knew he had to be brave and wise, but he had no idea what the gods had in store for him. Just as Nkunim thought and pondered over all these, he heard a strange and gentle voice calling his name. This voice seemed different to all other voices he had heard. The voice called to him from the skies, "Nkunim, Nkunim, Nkunim." Nkunim became terrified and fell on the ground. The voice called one more time and said, "Nkunim, do not be afraid. It is I, the Almighty God. For it is I who blessed you even before you were born, and I purposed to make you great and a shining light to this community. Surely you shall go to the place that the so-called elders have asked you to, but I, the Almighty, shall be with you, and I will help you." This was the very first time Nkunim ever heard such a strange voice. Although the voice was strange, it brought peace and calmness in his heart. Nkunim blessed the Lord that night and went to sleep. The next morning, Nkunim met with Nanesi, who was waiting for him at the village square. She held a small, ancient-looking book in her hands. "This is the Book of Trials," she said. "It holds the secrets of the gods. You must read it to understand what's expected of you." Nkunim took the book and opened it carefully. The pages were filled with strange symbols and ancient writings. Nanesi pointed to a passage. "This is the trial you must face. It says that you will be tested by 3 challenges, each one revealing your heart and spirit." Nkunim read the passage carefully. The first challenge was called the Forest of No Return. He had to enter the forbidden forest at night and retrieve a sacred stone guarded by a fearsome spirit. The second challenge was the puzzle of Leviathan. He had to solve a riddle given by an old wise woman who lived by the river. The final challenge was the Doomsday. He had to show his faith and commitment in a moment of great danger. Nkunim felt a shiver run down his spine. These challenges sounded daunting, but he was determined to face them. He thanked Nanesi and set off for the forbidden forest, the first trial ahead of him. As the sun began to set, Nkunim entered the dark forest. The trees were tall and twisted, and the shadows seemed to move. The air was thick with an eerie silence. Nkunim held his breath and walked cautiously. Suddenly, he heard a low growl. He turned around to see a shadowy figure with glowing eyes. It was a spirit guarding the sacred stone. Nkunim's heart pounded, but he remembered the voice that told him, "Do not be afraid, for I shall be with you to help you." He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I am here to receive the sacred stone. I come with power and authority, and in the name of the Lord Almighty." The spirit grew louder and seemed to grow larger. Nkunim could feel the fear gripping him, but he stood firm. He said again, "I come with power and authority in the name of the Lord Almighty." The spirits began to scream greatly, and then, to Nkunim's surprise, it spoke in a deep, echoing voice. "Many have come before you and failed. What makes you different?" Nkunim thought carefully and replied, "I come with a pure heart and a genuine desire to help my village. And the greatest of all, I come in the name of the Lord Almighty." The spirit screamed with a loud voice again as it slowly stepped aside, revealing the sacred stone. Nkunim took the stone carefully, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He knew the first trial was complete, but there were still 2 more challenges ahead. As he left the forest, he looked at the stone and thought about the next trial, solving the riddle given by the old wise woman. He hoped that he could solve it and continue on his journey. He made his way to the river where the wise woman lived. When he arrived, the old ancient woman was waiting for him. With 14 eyes around her head, she was old and wrinkled, with a gaze that seemed to see right through him. "To pass this trial, you must answer my riddle correctly," she said. Her voice was like wind through the trees. Nkunim nodded, ready for the challenge. The wise woman asked her riddle, which was complex and confusing. Nkunim thought hard, trying to find the right answer. As he pondered, he remembered his experiences and lessons learned from his journey so far. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Nkunim spoke up. "The answer to your riddle is hope. Without hope, we lose our way and our strength. Hope guides us through the darkest times and helps us to see the light." The ancient woman's eyes twinkled as she was shocked that Nkunim was able to answer the riddle. Prior to Nkunim's visit, no one who ever attempted to solve the riddle survived. The woman said, "You have answered correctly, young one. Get away from here," she screamed in pain. "You are not welcomed." Nkunim felt a surge of relief and gratitude. He thanked the Lord in his heart and prepared for the final trial, the doomsday. He knew this would be the most challenging of all, as it would test his belief and courage in the face of real danger. The next day, Nkunim walked to the edge of a cliff near the village. Below was a deep chasm with a raging river. There was a narrow bridge made of old vines and wooden planks that swayed in the wind. The gods had told him that to prove that he was not under a curse, he had to cross this precarious bridge without falling. As Nkunim approached the bridge, he could feel his heart race. The wind howled and the river below roared with fury. The gods watched in excitement and in belief that he would trip and fall. He took a deep breath and placed his first foot on the bridge. The vines creaked and the planks wobbled. Each step felt like a test of his faith. Halfway across, the bridge suddenly gave a loud crack and one of the planks snapped. Nkunim nearly lost his balance but caught himself just in time. He closed his eyes and prayed, "Lord, give me the strength to make it through this trial. I trust in your protection," he said. With renewed courage, Nkunim carefully continued, step by step. The bridge seemed to sway less, as if responding to his faith. Finally, he reached the other side safely. Exhausted but triumphant, Nkunim had completed the trial. As he returned to the village, he was met with cheers and tears of joy from the villagers. They had witnessed his trials and were amazed at his bravery and faith. The village elders approached him, their faces beaming with respect and admiration. The chief said, "We have all seen your dedication and strength, Nkunim, and today we have seen that you are not cursed, rather you are blessed. You have not only overcome the trials, but have shown that true success comes from trusting the Lord. You are indeed truly blessed." Nkunim smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He remembered the voice he heard in his room that said, "I will be with you and I will bless you." He said to himself, "I am not under a curse. I am just helped by God."
Don't forget to like and subscribe.